Hello, students. So, welcome to this week's Industry Connect session. So, we have Yasheen sir, who is going to enlighten us today with regards to the topic, which is going to be impact and opportunities in retail analytics. Okay. So, now, Yasheen sir, please give a brief introduction about yourself and we can take things further from here. Students, also, let's keep this session very interactive. So if you have any questions and queries, you can either drop a message on the chat box or unmute yourself and have a word with sir directly. Okay. Yashin sir, you're on mute.
Yep. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining on a Saturday evening. Right. So I'm pleasantly surprised that we have people joining in on Saturday evening interested in net analytics and to hear more about retail analytics and to pursue a career on analytics. Right. So what we're going to be doing for the next 45 minutes to 1 hour is going to be discussing on retail analytics. What is retail analytics? What is retail in retail as a domain? What is it about? And then where does analytics figure into it? And then we'll also see about how is the analytics shaping up the retail industry and what is there for you if you take it up as a career in future. Okay, so before we go over there, so let me quickly show you the slides that we have for today. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay, Shashank or anyone, can you confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. I'm able to see you.
Perfect, sounds good. Okay, so about me, I'm Yasheen. So I currently work as a manager for Salesforce India Limited. So if you have not heard about Salesforce, it is one of the global giants into CRM industry and the world's fifth largest company at this point of time. Okay. So what I've been doing, so this is my 20th year in the software industry. So I have total 19 years of experience. I started my career with Infosys, and I was there for around close to 1.5 years over there. And then I spent around more than a decade with Oracle. So Oracle has been my bread and butter. So I grew with Oracle, and then I became a manager over there. And then I think for the last 8 years, I worked in a startup, an analytics startup, and then I then moved on to Salesforce 3 years back. Okay, so that's a brief history about me and my career. My teaching experience is primarily started off when I was in Oracle. So I was part of the Oracle University, taking courses for new joinees and also people who are interested on the technical side of it. Then I was associated with Miles way back around 4 to 5 years back when Miles started off with analytics, and I've been helping them ever since, working with different universities, Jain, St. Joseph's, Mount Carmel in Bangalore, so on and so forth. Okay, so I've done my postgraduate in analytics from ISB, and I also done my postgraduate in management from IMB. So that's a brief about me. So whatever I'm talking today is primarily not related to the work that I have currently doing. It's not related to the job that I'm performing at this point of time. So that is a quick disclaimer. Okay, perfect. So now coming to the agenda. Okay. What are we going to do for the next 45 minutes? I've given you a rough estimate of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be giving you an introduction to the retail for 5 to 6 minutes, and then what is retail domain? What are the retail functions which we have, right? And then we are going to be looking at a bird's eye view of how analytics plays a role in the use cases, and then we will probably see. Time permits, we'll try to go into the two use cases in detail about how the use cases are being used in analytics. The last 5 minutes is something that's going to be useful for you. We'll be looking at what are the options or what are the things that skills that you need to pick up so that you can build your career with retail analytics. Okay. Okay, so any questions before we get started off, or any expectations that you have which is on top of what we have listed over here as agenda? Please let me know. I'll be happy to see if I can add that.
Any questions, students? Like I said, please keep the session interactive so you can gain enough and more of knowledge. Okay, I think you can go ahead, sir.
Sounds good. And just a quick check. I think we have all the 3 years of students, right? So I think one quick disclaimer is that there might be few areas in my deck which is going to be in detail on probably suited for students who have already done few courses on analytics. Okay, so if something that is going to be high level or not easy to grasp, it is fine to neglect it. Probably for people who have been at least done Python, R programming, or learned in analytics, you may probably be able to make sense of what I'm trying to tell to you. For others who are starting off with analytics, I try to understand from a broader perspective what is that is something that is interests you, so that you can check if retail analytics is something that you can probably pursue as a career. Okay, so because we are having a broad spectrum of audience, I'm trying to cover both ends of the spectrum over here. Okay, perfect. Now, when it comes to retail analytics, right? So first thing first is I'll give you few seconds for you to read through this cartoon. Okay, the synopsis is a lot of companies are in a cusp of taking a decision if they really want to be data driven, or do we try to be data driven because the other competitors are data driven, right? So some of the companies strategy is ensuring that they try to be data driven, but try to see if it fits into their current strategy that they have. Okay, that's not how the companies need to work. And there are few companies, without me taking the names, that probably are not using data analytics in the truest sense. Okay, let's say for example, I'm quoting few names over here, okay, so that it's easy for you to um, understand. Okay, some of the companies are still working on brick and mortar for retail. Okay, when I mean brick and mortar, it is only working on stores. Okay, that is the strategy. That's completely fine, but they can still use data analytics to drive the brick and mortar stores. When I mean brick and mortar stores, you are selling only through stores, right? You are not having a e-commerce platform to sell it through. Okay, so those companies are still fine as long as they are ensuring that they have sufficient data driven analytics used for selling the right goods at the right time at the right price, right? That is completely fine. But the worrying part is there are other set of customers or retailers who are pretending to be data driven. They are the small e-commerce companies who are still making up. They are actually not completely data driven, but they would want to do it just by copying what the other companies are doing. Okay, so those companies are actually the ones which are suffering a lot in the retail analytics space. And there obviously there are few giants in the e-commerce, like the Flipkarts and the Amazons and the Walmarts, who are using driven technologies to the maximum extent possible, right? So we're going to be seeing different types of companies and how they are using techniques to drive data driven decisions based on analytics. And some of the companies, I'm not be able to take the names, they are probably not using the right techniques for them to drive it. Okay, so we'll tell them what is the mistakes which have been done over there as well. Okay, so what is important is, first thing first is that companies need to understand that they cannot change the strategy. Their strategy has to be on the pivot, and you can create the plans which is going to be abided by the data driven decisions, which will augment the sales for your company. Okay, so that's how it has to be. Okay, now how's the global retail industry looking like? Okay, so this is the data that I've been able to collect till 2019. I did not take the year from 2020 to 2021 because we know that those were exceptions, right? So those were the years where we were all sitting at homes, right? So you can see that for the last, from 2017 to 2019, the total retail sales worldwide has been increasing year after the other. And you can see that the e-commerce sales worldwide has also been increasing. And these are values in trillions. Okay. So how's the US retail industry looking like? Okay. So you can see that 3.76 trillion dollars of sales was accounted in 2019. Okay. And e-commerce sales was around 602 billion. Okay. Which was roughly around 56.9%. Okay, say for example here, this is a huge difference, right? So only 43% of the sales are happening through stores, and close to 60% of the sales are happening through e-commerce in 2019, even before we went into the pandemic. Okay, the pandemic created a huge change where the augmentation of e-commerce was much more pronounced than the brick and mortar sales, right? Among the e-commerce, Amazon.com alone represented close to 37% of all e-commerce sales which happened last year. Okay, so e-commerce has been seeing a huge growth of close to 15% year after the year, and so this is where the opportunities are great for you and me, and also for analytics to help the industry take shape. Okay, how is India doing? Okay, so India is a small bit. Okay, so compared to the US, you have around 3.76 trillion. India's sales have been close to 1.7 trillion, around 32.3 billion. Okay, so you can see that around the numbers are a fraction of what is happening in the US, but 32.3 billion of the sales is happening in e-commerce. Okay, but what is a major difference is retail accounts to close to 10% of the country's GDP, and it employs 8% of the total employment in the Indian market. Okay, the only caveat is that the India is largely an unorganized retail market where a lot of kirana shops, and it's contributing to close to 88% of the total retail sector. Okay, only 12% of the retail sector is happening through the established brands. Okay, so it will take time for us to get it into a more formalized sector, but even the formalized sector accounts to a huge amount of sales in the Indian retail industry. Okay, so these are the global retailers: Walmart's, Amazon's, Kroger's, Walgreens, Carrefour, the French one, and the JD.com. So all these are the big players, and obviously their revenue is almost comparable to the country's GDP, right? So these are the global retailers that we have, and we know some of the names over here, right? Now, what does retail as a domain or a function uh, look like? Okay, so what does it do? What does a retail function do? Okay, um, it involves four different stages. Okay, so you need to buy goods, rather buy from the vendors. Okay, so let's say for example, let's take a classic example of an brick and mortar store. Okay, so let's take the Shopper Stop, okay, which is a classic Indian retailer, right? So he needs to aggregate lot of merchandising from different vendors, right? Shopper Stop does not have its own brand. It tries to aggregate lot of clothes from different vendors and sells it in their respective shops, right? So it purchases different goods from different vendors. So that is called merchandising, and then it has to move the purchased goods to different supply chains, to different retail outlets. Okay, so it has to move to the outlets depending upon the demand in each one of the stores, and then it has to sell those items in the stores or through e-commerce. It can happen through the stores or it can happen online, right? And then the last but not the least, the enabling function, which is nothing but you need to marketing, you need to market for those stores, you need to ensure that the finance works perfectly fine, HR department works for taking care of the employees to be employed over there in the stores, and then no, last but not the least, the real estate, right? So you need to lease stores, purchase stores, and also take care of them, right? So all these are the four different functions, or the four broader category in which the retail functions. Okay, so what are the actions which happens under each one of them, right? So under merchandising, there are four major questions that you need to ask. Okay, what should I buy, right? You need to first check what is the demand in that area, and what do a market research to understand which area that you would want to get into, right? What to buy, how much to buy, right? So you need to work with the different vendors, see what are the vendors which can probably help you with a better deal, and then try to understand the category management, right? So you need to ensure which category of goods we are going to have, right? So if you're going to set up a shop which is going to be on an upscale area, and if you are trying to create categories or sell categories which is going to be less than 200 rupees Zudio shop over there, then you might probably not be able to set up shop in the right place, right? So depending upon the area that you are taking up and opening up a shop, you need to also ensure which category of goods that you're going to be selling over there. And then also we need to take care of the financial planning, right? So how much people to employ, how much should I have, how much is the asset that I have, how much is the liabilities I have, how much loan should I take from the banks to set up the shops. All those comes under the financial planning. And how to sell, it's a very important part, right? So obviously if you are having goods which are perishables, right, then you need to take care of pricing and the promotions, and depending upon the seasonality, you need to decide which goods to store and which goods to sell as promotions or clearances, right? So the difference between promotions and markdowns are nothing but price changes. Okay, what do you mean by price changes? Is you change the actual price of the item when it comes to markdowns, but when it comes to promotions, it's actually a temporary one. So you give a 10% off or 15% off on the current price, but after that particular period gets over, let's say for example Republic Day week or something, the price resets automatically to the original price. That is promotions. But for markdowns, it's actually a change in the original price of that particular good. That's the difference between promotions and markdowns, right? And how much to carry, how much is good enough, right? So you cannot probably keep everything in your stock in your warehouse, right? So how much should I keep it on the store, how much should I keep it on the warehouse, how much can I procure it from another store if need by, right? How often should I take care of my replenishment? So replenishment is when you run out of goods, and then how often can I replenish it? And then space planning, right? So which goods should I keep in the front part of the store, which good should I keep it in the back store, how should I arrange the goods, how should I keep two goods along with each other, right? Which one should be given with the other one as a promotion, right? All the ones which comes into that is called as planogramming. Okay, that's a separate um, exercise that happens in your retail applications, which involves trying to create the store layouts and plan how you are going to stack up the goods in your respective stores. Okay, that comes under the whole concept of merchandising. Now similarly, the supply chain has different stakeholders. Okay, so you have the suppliers, then you have the distribution centers, distribution, and then the stores, and then the customers. Okay, so initially probably 10-15 years back, the supply chain was very simple, right? So you have only the customers who were going to the stores and procuring goods, right? Stores was the only source of truth, where you try to forecast the demand, right? And try to put the goods order to the distribution center, and the distribution center will replenish the goods, and when they run out of it, they go and contact the supplier to get the additional goods. Okay, but the problem now happened was that um, customers started doing store visits. They also were ordering it online and picking it from store, and they are also ordering it online and directly giving it directly shipped to the store as well. Okay, I heard few pings. Let me see if there is a question. Okay, any question?
Rahul, please refresh your window because I hope everybody else is able to hear. Please respond, students. Yeah, so Rahul, please refresh your window. Yashin sir, you can continue.
Thank you. So customers can now order it directly from the store, order it online and then pick it from store, and then order it online, and then the distribution center actually directly ships it directly to the customer. There is no stores involved itself, right? So now let's say for example you go for a shop, right? So let's take a footwear shop, like say a Bata, and if you don't find a particular size of a particular style, then what they do is they take the order from you and they directly ship it from the distribution center to your house, right? So that is this third way of uh, purchasing, right? Which was not earlier available, right? So now the supply chain has to take care of all these new challenges and changes that are coming in. Now the demand forecast has become more complex. So because the demand can come from anywhere, be it from online or order online, pick it up from store, or it can be from the store itself. So demand forecast has to take care of all the three things before it can decide how much of goods should I keep it on the stores, or how much should I keep it in the distribution center. Okay, that is one booming area where a lot of work has been done in the last 5-6 years, where a lot of analytics applications and programs have been written on how to evaluate, okay, how many goods has to be stocked in different places in the supply chain. Okay, it is a rotational supply chain. Okay, where it starts off with the customers, supply and suppliers provide it to the distributors. Distributors give it to the manufacturer. It manufacturer produces the end goods and it sends it to the retailer, and the retailer uses the logistics supply chain and it reaches the customers. Okay, so it is a evolving rotating supply chain. Okay, now, the third big operation that we had talked about was the store operations. Okay, so store operations is how does a particular store execute the strategies of a particular business in the way it is being entitled to or instructed to do on a day-to-day basis, right? That is effectively the store operations. You can always find that when you are running stores from from, let's say, for example, Tanishq. Okay, you will find that there are now Tanishq is having a lot of franchisee stores which have opened up for the last 3 4 years. There are, you can probably see a lot of stores opened up for Tanishq than what it was 5 6 years back, right? Because Tanishq had started off with franchising, which was not done before. Okay, now the major problem, or what I would say is challenge for franchising out, is how do you maintain the culture and the look and feel and the operations in a standardized format across the stores, right? So you see that there is few things which the businesses try to take care by trying to standardize things, right? So they try to source it from one common location. They try to see if their culture of the stores are almost same, the color and the pattern is almost the same, so that the all the customers, the loyal customers, don't find any differences between going to different stores, right? So the store operations actually is much more than that. Okay, it has lot of operations internally, intrinsically, which is built in, right? So within the store, you have your front desk and you have your back desk. So front desk is what you see as displayed in the store, and they still have something which is stored on the back desk. Okay, this is not warehouse, it is only back desk where you have the same goods. Okay, but it has different sizes and different quantities has been stored in the back desk. Okay, so what are the different operations which are there in the store? So you have merchandise handling, staffing and scheduling the staff, any damages that have been happened, security, cash management, customer service, store audit to ensure that how many items are there physically and compare it with whatever it is showing up in the system, right? So the audit has to happen on a weekly or a monthly basis to ensure that there is no differences over there. And then obviously you have an annual basic business plan and the budgeting plan that has to be devised at each store level, right? So there is a huge amount of operation activities that has to happen in store. And if it's a franchising model, then you need to add on to the revenue shrinkage or profit that has to be shared with the respective main store as well. Okay, so those are the different store operations which are happening over there. So I'm just giving you a broad overview of what are the different um, operations or pillars of a retail industry domain, and so that you can understand, or when I go to the next few slides you will understand where analytics can help you in each of the four stages. Okay, uh, when I talked about store operations, I need to talk about e-commerce, right? So earlier it was easier. We had only the traditional way of doing it. Then came the e-commerce way, and then people started doing multi-channel. They ordered it online, but they would want to try it before picking it up. So that was happening. Now you see that all of them are tightly integrated, right? So you, with a click of a button, you can purchase it from the websites, you can purchase it from your apps, you can or book an order, pick it up from the store, or directly order from the store. So all permutations and combinations of networking is props possible, and you can purchase a same goods from an Amazon, but actually the order is actually going to the same source vendor site, right? So all these types of integrated e-commerce is called as omni-channel. Okay, it is nothing but an integrated seamless experience which the customer gets for purchasing goods. That is called omni-channel. Okay, now the biggest pillar, the last pillar, marketing. So marketing, companies have to brand manage them, and then customer relationship management, all the loyalty cards, the different cards, the gold card, red card, diamond card, all those cards that they give you, and the loyalty points that they give you, right? The SMSs that you keep getting for um, um, coming and visiting us, and all those what do you call as vouchers that you get. All those are part of the marketing strategies, and also the public relations, right? So if you are having any grievances and you put it into the Twitter or in Facebook, you always have a marketing team who comes and assists you and helps you, telling to ensure that the brand damage is not done, right? So this is primarily to ensure that the traffic to the store is increasing and you are able to convert the footfalls into actual purchases. Okay, when it comes to e-commerce, it is going to be the footfalls is going to be synonymous with the number of people visiting your website is actually, or the application is converted into the volumes purchased in the app or onto the application. Okay, so if you the biggest advantages is effectively more the touch points that you have with the customer, the better the chances are that the customer will eventually start making a buy. End of the day, if you start making a buy, if you like the brand, you will continue using that brand. Okay, so it's always ensuring that the first buy is being done by the customer, and after that it's trying to continue with the loyalty that you build on top of it. Okay, now that we have seen the different stages: buy, move, sell, marketing, enablers, right? Now I'm going to be giving you a good, probably if you want to take a snapshot of this particular slide, feel free to take it. Okay, this is going to be a very useful one when you try to look at from a project perspective at any point of time when you are working on analytics, or if you want to look into retail analytics as a career. Okay, so these are the major areas which where the analytics is playing a big role in case of retail. Okay, so in buy, let's say for example, buying is merchandising, right? We talked about it, where the goods are being purchased from the vendor. Okay, so what are the different types of analytics use cases can be used over here? Okay, I'm not going to go into the details. I'm just going to say, let's say for example, we'll take probably buy and marketing, and I'll try to walk you through what are the different things that can be done. Okay, so buy, demand forecasting, right? So as I told you before, you can use a good regression model for you to do a demand forecasting. Inventory allocation is which goods needs to be allocated at which store at what time, right? That is inventory allocation. That prediction as a more of a classification model which can be used in the inventory allocation model. Space optimization is not a prediction model, it is an optimization technique in data analytics, where you try to optimize the best usage of the available space in storing your goods. Okay, promotion effectiveness, it's to calculate what is the promotions that you drive in your stores and how effective are they, right? Or can what can be done to make it much better. Markdown optimization is almost quite similar to promotion effectiveness, and price optimization is a technique that we are going to be looking into detail. So what is price optimization is when you are um, trying to sell a product. Okay, you would always want to sell it at a margin more than what you have purchased from the retailer, right? The always the retailer has a question is how much is that margin good enough, right? Typically during our father's times it was like, okay, let me keep a margin of 15 to 20% and that should take care of me, right? But now with the advent of all the technologies that you have, we need to take a call and we need to dig deeper and see how much will the customer be willing to pay at what level so that the demand does not start coming down. Okay, let me repeat it. Okay, let's say for example you want to buy a Sony Bravia. Okay, and if Sony Bravia is going to be sold at around 55,000 at this point of time, okay, just uh, take it for record that it is being sold at 55,000 in the store. Okay, now how much will the customer be ready to pay such a way that the demand does not come down for Sony Bravia? Okay, now that is the price at which you need to sell as a retailer so that you can maximize the sales. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say for example I'm purchasing Sony Bravia at 40,000 rupees from the vendor. Okay, I'm marking it up to 50,000 and I'm trying to sell it. Okay, my demand is around 100 customers, okay, on a month. Okay, I'm getting 100 customers in the month. Okay, around 100 to 105 customers are coming this month when I sell it for 50,000 rupees. Now I increase the price to around 55,000. The 100 customers come for the next month also, right? So even when I increase my price, the demand did not go down. Okay, so if I had not increased the price by that 5,000 rupees, those all those extra 5,000 rupees would have been an opportunity cost that I would have lost, right? So now with the analytics would try to give you an idea how much is the maximum that you can go to ensuring that your demand does not call down, so that you can maximize the opportunity that you have. Okay, that is a superb use case which is very well used by a lot of customers, lot of retailers. The big retailers use it on an everyday basis. Okay, and try to maximize their profits. Okay, so it takes not into account only the demand, also it also takes into account something called elasticity and all the stuff. I'll talk about it when I go into the use case in detail. Okay, now jumping onto the marketing head. So what is campaign analytics? Campaign analytics is what the advertisement campaigns that you run, right? Which advertisement campaigns are good, which mode of advertisement is good, right? Is it through the web or the app or the TVs or the billboards? All right, so which one is actually doing a better job than the other, right? All those are going to be, so you could have probably seen that when you are having a new customers into an application, they'll ask you, where did you hear us from, right? All those feedback that you collect goes back into the analytics model for prediction. Okay, um, media mix is almost similar. Customer segmentation is, you see that when you have credit cards, the credit card companies gives you platinum cards, gold cards, signature cards, blah blah, right? They're actually doing a customer segmentation so that they have a pattern of your spend, and they try to understand who spends in which way, or what is your buying capacity, so that I can target my promotion differently for each one of the customers. That is how the customer segmentation works. A/B testing. Okay, I'll come to the propensity modeling. Okay, I'll be talking about propensity modeling and price optimization in more detail. I'll quickly touch to A/B testing, and then we can move on to that. Now, what is A/B testing? Can anyone does anyone know what is A/B testing? Anyone? No? Okay. So this is one common term that you will hear a lot when you take analytics as a career. So A/B testing is very simple in simple language. Is when big companies or retailers want to try something new, right? They cannot directly make the changes throughout the country in all stores, or it cannot be done in the e-commerce site at one click. Okay, let's say for example, it can be they want to rearrange the look and feel of the sites. Okay, um, they don't do it one fine day. What they do is they open it up for few select customers for them to use it for some time, collect the feedback, and then based upon the feedback, they further make changes what it is required on the particular top of the changes that they've already done, and then they roll it out to the entire bigger population. Okay, A/B testing is primarily they're doing a hypothesis testing that these changes will increase the volume or the sales, and then they test it out with a small sample of customers, and based upon the results, they then project it to the bigger population. That is called A/B testing. Okay, so effectively, it's a part of using essential statistics. Okay, hypothesis testing on and combined with data analytics. Okay. Sounds good. So let me jump on to two use cases that I'm going to be talking about in greater detail. Okay. One is for price optimization. Okay. Let me just quickly see you how we are doing on time. Okay. 6:34. Okay. So I will should take 5 minutes for each one of the use cases, and then another 5 minutes for your career with that rate analytics. Okay. So let me see. Okay. So I should be able to finish it off by 6:50. Perfect. Okay. All good. Now coming to the price optimization. So how do I determine the selling price of an item? It is not easy. A retailer almost loses his hair when he tries to understand what price can I select an item, because if he's going to sell it at a price which is lesser, okay, then he will going to have an opportunity cost that he has missed, right? If he's going to price it higher, then people might not buy it, so he's going to lose customers. So he needs to price it at a price which is going to be conducive to both the demand and the opportunity cost. Okay, so effectively he needs to maximize the margin. You need to increase the top line sales, which is going to be conducive for all the customers, and also take into consideration the price perception for each product. There's a price perception, right? So let's say for example you have a Samsung A XX phone, right? You have a price perception that it is going to be sold for more than 30,000 rupees. Same for the iPhones, right? If I'm going to give tomorrow an iPhone, I'm releasing a new model of iPhone something, okay, 14G or something like that, and I'm going to say that I'm going to sell it for 20,000. You might probably think that, okay, this is not a good one, right? I might probably give you 80% of the functionalities which are there in the iPhone 14, but you will still have a iota of doubt that no, this might not be a good one. I might probably need to see. I might have doubts if this is a good one, right? There's a price perception that a brand has already built in that you cannot compromise with, right? So that's brand loyalty, price parity that you are already built in, that you need to take that into account, right? So how the model works is that you pick up all the items, and then merchant excludes few of the items criteria, and then you check if the price of the item has undergone any changes in the recent past, and then take into account the opportunity cost involved, and then finally devise an price which can be the best price for the particular product with a confidence interval. Okay, and then the merchant approves it, and then it goes into production. Okay, so this might be a slightly technical. What you need to understand is that there are 3 4 different variables which comes into picture when a price is determined. One is the elasticity, the sales, and the competitor intelligence, right? So competitor data is a huge factor which goes as input. Sales also goes into an input, but most important thing is called something called as elasticity. What is elasticity? Let me briefly tell you in a minute. There are two types of items which you have in the market: elastic item and the non-elastic inelastic item. Inelastic items is, even if the prices increases tomorrow, you cannot live without it. Let's say, for example, oil, right? Rice, wheat, all those items are inelastic items, right? So even an increase in the price of an item will not affect the sales of the item, right? That is inelastic. Elastic items is, this is elastic items. Okay, elastic is greater than one. Okay, what happens to the elastic items is, when there is a increase in the price, the demand for it fluctuates. Okay, let's say for example, if I increase the price of a laptop, let's say I order a Dell laptop and I've increased the price of a laptop from say 40,000 to 50,000, I might probably lose a sector of customers who are able to afford that laptop when it was 40,000, right? Probably, say for example, beginner into the job market, engineers, or let's say for example college students who would have probably been viable customers for that 40,000 laptop, might think twice buying it for 50,000. Okay, so those elasticity of a product, okay, it has been defined at not the SKU level. Okay, SKU is short form for stock keeping unit. Okay, let's say for example, uh, Dell so and so laptop, black color with this particular configuration is a SKU. Okay, but Dell laptop at this particular brand number, right? So let's say for example this model E320 or something like that, Dell laptop is a category. So elasticity is defined at the category level, and depending upon the elasticity plays a huge role in determining the price optimization. Okay, now because I've told you so much, I can give you an example so that you can understand that. Okay, um, I'm not sure if you're which brand of home goods you are using. Okay, but you know that Hindustan Unilever Limited manufactures most of the normal day-to-day goods that you use, right? Like starting from the shampoos and to the soaps and everything. um, you would have hardly realized that the consumer goods prices have actually increased by close to 35% in the last 6 to 7 months. But that has not decreased the demand for those goods because people cannot live without. That is called inelastic products. So in that is the cases why Hindustan Unilever Limited is one of the best companies, because they have a huge pricing potential that irrespective of whatever is going to happen in the market and the economy and all this stuff, they can have a price advantage. They can continue to increase the prices because they have are working on inelastic products, right? But you cannot say the same for elastic products. Let's say for example for the laptops and the phones and everything, those are the products which you, when you increase the price, the demand fluctuates heavily depending upon the category of customers who's going to be buying that, right? So that is one of the huge variable or factor which goes into the determination of the price. Okay, now what is this flowchart like? So once the modeling has recommended, then merchant has to approve it manually, and then it goes for testing it for a select set of data, and then it continues goes for a continuous evaluation. Final assessment has been done for that sample data, then it goes for a national rollout, and then it continuously monitors, and we try to see if it has to change it further also. So it's a huge use case, and price optimization has been implemented by most of the retail sectors. Okay, and if you want to do a project on it, feel free to take it as one of the projects. Okay, it's now the next one that I wanted to show you was propensity modeling. Okay, the previous one was a supervised learning. This one is a unsupervised learning model. So what is it trying to do is it's trying to predict the likelihood of a customer who making a purchase or responding to a campaign or redeeming a coupon, etc. So what is it trying to do is that if there are 100 customers who are visiting my website or visiting my store, I cannot keep giving vouchers to all of them, right? um, then how do I select my target population who can probably be my loyal customers? Okay, that is called as propensity modeling. Some of the retailers have started using it, but some of the customers are not doing it. So let's say, for example, in normal Indian scenario, if you go to a Reliance Trends or something like that, when you purchase it, they do a very flat way of working, right? So when you purchase more than 1,500 bucks or something, they give you a voucher or something like that. That is not gonna be a great example. Your propensity modeling takes it one step forward. Okay, it tries to say what is the likelihood of a customer who has made a purchase last month is going to make a purchase this month, right? And if the rate is going to be high, then I'm going to try to give them an discount accordingly, right? I cannot give a flat voucher for everyone. I'm going to select those individuals or customers, and I'm going to customize my promotion according to his likelihood of becoming a repeated customer or he redeeming a coupon or not. Okay, so that's how the propensity modeling is. So you can see a lot of retailers starting to use this one out. Okay, um, now coming to the data science in retail. So there are two types of data science which have been used at this point of time. One is the old wine in the new bottle. The ones that we are actually doing in brick and mortar stores now has been done in a newer format using data analytics. Propensity modeling was done in paper and paper. Now we are doing it with more technology involved. Markdown optimization was also done on pen and paper. Now they are doing it with a lot of technology. In brand new wine, these were the ones which was not done earlier, but it has been doing for the last 2 3 years. It has caught up a lot. Competitor intelligence, location based marketing. Like say for example, if I go to a store in Bangalore compared to a store in Mysore, you can see a lot of pricing difference for the same good, right? So location based marketing and location based price setting is also a huge one. Okay, video analytics, cyber fraud modeling, all those are new techniques and technologies which are increasingly used through the data science now. Okay, now coming to the important topic that you might probably be looking at. um, so if I am want to get into the data analytics as a career for me, so what are the things that I need to know, right? um, this is not an all encompassive list. It is certainly a list which you need to know at least one from each one of the buckets. Okay, there are four major skills that you need to know. One is the business skills. Business context is, I've given a primer on what retail is, and I've also told you where the analytics is used in retail. Try to read more on how the retail domain works, right? So try to see if you can do some kind of a certification on the retail, or try to do some projects on the retail, so that it will give you an idea of how the retail business domain works. Okay, technical skills, you need to know essential statistics and also machine learning algorithms, supervised learning and unsupervised learning algorithms. Okay, and you should know from the data and the problem which machine learning algorithm to use for which type of problem that you have. Okay, next one is the programming skills. So I've given you the four list or the five list: Python, R, SQL, SAS, and BigQuery. Okay, so Python is a mandatory one, and SAS is one of the programming languages. It gives a lot of certifications on SAS available now. So SAS is extensively used for retail. Okay, so if you are interested in retail analytics, I would recommend that you do some kind of certification on SAS, which is going to be useful as well. Okay, but Python is a mandatory one that you need to know. Okay, storytelling, presenting techniques, it's going to be Power BI and Tableau. I would probably not pay so much of attention to MicroStrategy and Canva, which is not much in demand now. Tableau and Power BI are very much in demand in the market. Okay, so just give you a snapshot: Python, SAS for programming, Tableau, Power BI for presentation. Statistics and machine learning on tech and business context are going to keep you in demand for your retail analytics career. Okay, so if you want to take a snapshot, please feel free to take a snapshot. These are the projects that I would recommend my students for who are doing in retail analytics. So repeat purchasing modeling, cross-selling model, personalized recommendation model, pricing model, loyalty analysis model, campaign analysis model, market basket analysis model. Market basket is how do you promote two items together? Which two items should be sold together, right? A/B testing model and segmentation analysis, okay, model. So these are the different projects that you can explore or look into if you're going to take up a career in data analytics to build up or boost up your resume. Okay. So with that, I come to the end part and I'm good on time as well. So I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. Any questions? Don't consider any question as a simple one. It's fine to get it clarified. Okay. Okay. So I take that as a no. So Sashank, this would bring to the end of the session. I'll be happy to share my deck with you. Feel free to share it with the students so that it is useful for them. So, and again, have a wonderful career in data analytics, and feel free to um, check out with Shashank if you have any questions, or if you are trying to do any projects. If you need any help on data analytics, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Have a good, wonderful weekend, and all the best for your career in data analytics. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.